Okay, welcome to 2-Point Perspective Instrumental Drawing. I'm Stuart McEwing, and this is part 1 of this course where I'll be showing you 2-Point Perspective Instrumental Drawing. Of course, for instrumental drawing, we're going to need some of our instruments. So we've got a 30-60 set square, 45-degree set square, and a T-square, a sharp 2H pencil. We might need a few ink pens along the way, perhaps an eraser if you need one. Anyway, let's get cracking. So, before we start, and we start to realize what 2-point perspective instrumental drawing is, it's useful to explain what it is not. This is a line drawing. Obviously it's a 2-point perspective, so you have your perspective vanishing points, and where the depth recedes back into the vanishing points. It's certainly a drawing, but it's not an instrumental projection. So that's not what we're looking for. What we're looking for is a drawing, an instrumental perspective projection that requires, we have a list here, a plan and an elevation, and together these come together to form a projection on the page. Now for this thing, we've got like a checklist here. So we've got our plan, we've got our picture plane, we've got our station point down the bottom. Now some people call this the eye or the observer. We've also got our elevation, our ground line, horizon line, and we do not yet have our true height or our vanishing point. But these all together are what I'd like to call the projector. So in essence, that's the engine that's going to be turned on, and when it starts to run, then it will start to create a projection, which will be our image in the middle. So just to help you picture this, I'm going to demonstrate. There's our rough and ready model of this a rectangular prism. Here it is in elevation, and here it is in plan. And what you see that this setup here is basically it's a combination of this object in plan and in elevation. Right here we have Donald standing in for our observer, and he is in relation to this plan, and the camera, or the camera lens, or Donald hanging out here, is now in a relation to the elevation. So you can see that this setup is a combination of both plan and elevation. Now so the things that are related to the plan will be the picture plane. We'll get our Donald, our observer, and our picture plane is basically, if you can imagine, a window standing in front of this object. So here we have our picture plane, or this is an easy way to demonstrate, is our T-square. It's this window that's hanging out right here, coming towards the camera, and that's that invisible plane. When Donald is in elevation mode, the picture plane becomes the page itself, and the bottom of the picture plane, or sort of a line intersecting horizontally the picture plane, is the ground line. So we have the plan. This plan is related in a way to this picture plane right there. We also have the station point, which is our observer. So it's in a convenient order there. Related to the elevation, we have the ground line, we have the horizon line, which is basically our observer, whether he's up high or down low like this on the elevation. We have the horizon line, I just mentioned the horizon line. What we don't have is the true height and the vanishing points. So to complete our engine, we're going to need to do that, and for that we're going to use this one here. Unfortunately, I can see that this is not very well set up. I have to change that, so in the meantime, I'm just going to put this piece of paper here to lengthen my sheet. Okay, so parallel to this line, you can see our plan is on an angle. So we're going to take this line in an effort to find our vanishing points. I'm going to project up this line parallel to that line. I just happen to know it's on a 30 degrees. It's coming off, and where you can't see it there, it's hitting the picture plane, or intersecting the picture plane, and there it's going to come down onto the horizon line. And where it hits the horizon line, that is the vanishing point. Now I'll do it on this side, on the left side, so you can see. This one here is a 60-degree line. So from the station point, I'm going to come up to the picture plane, and then down. So on that horizon line, right there, is the vanishing point, which is left. Over there, vanishing point, which is right. So that's how you set up the vanishing points. Now we have those vanishing points. To get the true height, you need to understand that the true height is wherever the plan is intersecting the picture plane. Just to demonstrate that, we have our observer. Now, observer is looking through at our object through an invisible plane, or like a window, and that point right there, which is intersecting that picture plane, is the position in which is the same height as the elevation that we have there. So we're going to project down that point right there, and this becomes our true height. I like to label things because soon there'll be a lot of lines on this page, and it'll be difficult to, well, definitely in your more complicated drawings, there becomes a lot of lines, so it's useful to label your lines. So that is the engine done, and from the action we can actually start to project. So let's turn this engine on and see how it starts running. The first thing I'll do is I'm going to project the height onto the true height line. Now all of these, this whole elevation really only need the height of that elevation, and that there is the true height of this elevation as it's projected onto the true height line. These ones, from the vanishing point, you can draw a line right to there, and sometimes we even have to go through, but that's the point where we're projecting back from or back to, depending on which way you want to look at it. And you see, so this plane here is starting to, is pictured here, and it's starting to recede back to the vanishing point. Again, on this side, we see this plane, and it's beginning to recede back to the vanishing point. So the next thing is we want to know where that plane or that wall of this object here is going to stop. We know now where it stops is in relation to from our observer to the plan through the picture plane. So he's going to send out an I-beam from his eye looking at the corner of that rectangular prism. So let's do that. From the eye, or the station point, back to that back corner. Just do a very light line, because all I need of that line is this part here, the part where that eye line intersects the picture plane. And where it intersects the picture plane, I'm going to drop that straight down so that right there is the edge of that rectangular prism. Now we can do that again on the left hand side. And where that intersects, where that eye line, or sort of, I like to call them laser beams, looking at that corner, intersects the picture plane, there I'll drop it right down so that between that height and that ground line we have now our two walls. Now to get the top of this object, we're just going to take that left point back to the vanishing point on the right, and the that right point there back to the vanishing point on the left. And there we've finished our very first perspective drawing. I know it's very simple. It's a very simple shape after all, and we can see it, or you can sort of picture it. It's maybe pointing a bit like that. We can see a bit of the top. You see the two planes of the wall. They're going back to the vanishing points, like so. I'm just going to ink that up to make it look nice. I'm using a 0.3 for the outside edges. Now, of course, you don't have to do this in ink. In fact, it's a pretty bold move to do in ink, as getting it wrong will mean you have to redo the whole thing if you can't paste something on top of it. But it makes for I think it makes for a great presentation, and it's much easier to see on the projector what we've been doing. So there's that 0.3 black ink line going around the edges, and you might notice that what that 0.3 black ink line does is it serves to distinguish this object with the white space around it, and it appears anywhere where there is a hidden face that you can't see. So I can't see the face behind there and behind here. Now these lines, I have two visible faces, so I'll just quickly, very lightly, with a 0.1 black ink pen, produce that line. That line. And this last line, which completes our very first 2-point perspective drawing. There we are, pen on the table, and that's us for today. That's our first lesson done.